You got the map, Rosie?
Yeah, she's trying to get rid of me, I think.
Is she?
Yeah, maybe. We went to lunch today. She likes me again, so it's good.
Somebody just sent me a text saying, guys,
it's on. It's on. It was a little delay. My bad. I just noticed it myself in the chat, guys. I apologize.
What happened?
We're live. It's live. There was
Since
a delay
when?
for some reason.
Oh.
Like how long?
The conversation of your the tree stand and the getting muddy.
So we got to start over again?
So
and away we go.
Hey, welcome back, Ed Salty Experience Podcast. This is the only. Let me write this one down. Gonzo's
fine. And away we go. Sorry, gentlemen. Again, there was a slight delay. I don't know what happened, but again, it's on me. I'm striking out after this, guys. I'm done.
Oh man.
I wanted to say,
smooth. It was going smooth too.
It was going great.
When I got to the pre-show, there's only one West Coast guy. We got like a gang up here on the guy. I mean,
Oh, this is not all sharing the love. We were supposed to have another guy, but I was trying to get the guy from the what do you call it tool here? What's the tool? The guy we had on from LA, but he says he's on shift tonight. So that got shot to hell right there. It's supposed to be 2 and 2. But hey, we'll take what we can get. We'll take the guy from Redondo Beach.
No, I don't think
he's a vet too, so I don't think nobody's ganging up on him, bro. I think he'll kick some ass. Yeah. I see Hank's out again.
I can see it. Hank.
He's out.
Is he frozen?
Yeah. All right. So you know what? Let's get to because we got to double up on commercials. We got a good week next week coming up. We'll talk about that later. But we gotta catch up on commercials. So Gons, start playing them, bro. Do the thing you do.
All right, guys. Here we go.
Make sure it goes out over the air, though. All right.
It's on. Where broadcast is on it? Let me double check. No, we're on this time. All right. Here we go. We're gonna hear our friends from New Jersey Fire.
Established in 1930 and under the current ownership since 1987, the New Jersey Fire Equipment Company handles a complete line of fire department equipment and supplies. Headquartered in Greenbrook, the company operates full 3M Scott service facilities in Ridgefield Park and Toms River, staffed by 10 fully authorized Scott certified technicians with a fleet of 6 fully equipped service vans. All New Jersey Fire technicians and sales representatives are active or retired firefighters, officers or chief officers, career and volunteer. They understand the business and the importance of their work. New Jersey Fire has represented Scott since Earl Scott entered the SCBA business at the end of World War II. Among other leading manufacturers represented by New Jersey Fire are Globe and Firedex turnout gear, Mercedes hose, Task Force tips and Akron brass, Hygenol, fire hooks, Arctic compressors, MSA Carnes helmets, ChemGuard foam, Alkalite and Duo safety ladders, BA face shield protectors, Truckman's Choice saws, Grove's gear racks and washer dryers, Supervac fans, RPI, Streamlight, and many others. A New Jersey incorporated and based company, sales and service are limited to the state of New Jersey. Find us now at www.njfe.com. That's www.njfe.com.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. All right, quick, jump to the next one.
If you're looking for a gift for that special firefighter in your life, then head on over to gettingsaltyapparel.com. Yes, gettingsaltyapparel.com.
All right, the commercial's off, John. Strike 2.
If you're looking for a gift for that special firefighter in your life, then head on over to gettingsaltyapparel.com. Yes, gettingsaltyapparel.com. What do we have? Well, we carry hand-drawn original t-shirts, glassware such as mugs, shot glasses, pint glasses, engraved Arctic cooler cups, and much, much more. There's also a full line of firefighter tool bottle openers like Halligan's, nozzles, and wine bottle opener accesses too. And if you're a cigar smoker, congratulations! We have partner sauce cigar cutters and humidors. Think we're done? Far from it. We got toiletry, gear bags, koozies, a full line of hats, decals, sweatshirts, and once again, so much more. We can also personalize most of these products, and if you want discounts, hey, you've come to the right place. We got discounts on large orders for promotion dinners, weddings, as well as installation dinners. Just head on over to gettingsaltyapparel.com.
Excellent. Take a deep breath. Take it. Breathe. Breathe. Put your fucking glasses on. Whatever.
You're muted, Gons. You're muted.
He's muted.
It shouldn't be. See, I promise you guys. I don't know what's. I should. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yes. I got you.
All right, let's bring our guests in, please, quickly. Let's bring him in. Let's bring in our
Can we
East
just go
Coast.
with take two from the whole
Yeah.
thing from the get-go, please?
You're good.
All
Moving
right,
on.
you ready?
Let's
You want
bring
an
in
intro?
senior dude, Henry Mollet with the band Internet. He could be here, he could be gone. It's a mystery. We don't know.
Here he
see as the
is.
show goes up. There, he's here. There he is.
Hey.
There he is.
Good
We
evening,
got him.
Leatherhead Nation. I'll be here as long as my internet holds out.
He's in. He's
At
out.
least yours is working.
This
He's
Del
like-
Boca
he's
Vista
like
thing
Houdini.
is killing me.
Have another sip, Roof. It gets better after a while. All right, let's bring in the fattiest daddy of them all, bro. He's here.
Yeah.
He's your man. It's the fat daddiest. There he is.
Greetings, brethren. How is everybody doing?
How's your
Gonzo,
neck?
Nice
you
shirt,
couldn't
Ray.
find, Gonzo, you couldn't find your ass with both hands.
Man, I swear. I really.
Nice
I-
shirt, Ray. What do you got? The Columbia shirt on? The
I got
Italians?
the my little shout out to the Colombian Association wearing
Nice.
their fine apparel.
Good for you.
Excellent.
Good for you,
Well,
Jack.
I didn't realize we got to hook Fat Daddy up with a cup. We're gonna send him
his
out
ass
a
up.
cup tomorrow.
I got my Long Beach Fire Department fireman cup.
Oh, by the way, on Long Beach, did you
There you
know
go,
that
Fat
it wasn't actually? He's got the senior dude one. It wasn't actually the paid guys who were the Suicide Squad. It was the volley guys.
You know,
I'm a
that was my
very
mistake. I
Angry
apologize.
caller.
They were so good, I thought they were paid guys. I'm sorry.
Nice. Good recovery, dude. Good recovery.
Good recovery. All right, let's bring on our next guest, all the way in from Redondo Beach, California. He was a captain, started his trek in 1971, did 40 years on the
40
job.
years.
You might know him as Bob Frank. I call him Frank Bob. Call him whatever you want to do. Just don't call him late for lunch. Here he is, Bob Frank. There he is. Hey, Cap.
Greetings from the left side. How are you guys?
Welcome to the
right.
show.
What's up, Cap? How are you?
So we know
Good.
all about these other two old farts over here. You know what? Before I dive into that, let's see if Gons can get this. We got to stay patriotic.
Got it. He's got it.
He's
got
got
it.
his back pocket. Don't.
Wait, let me get up and okay.
He's got that in the back pocket. I got
ready.
the hook in the left pocket. All right, let's get patriotic, Gons. Do it.
All right, you ready? Okay, we're gonna try. Here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gets me every time. Beautiful. All right, everybody knows these other two guys here on the right. They've been on the show quite a few times. We love them. But let's talk about Mr. Bob Frank a little bit. Let's get into his career. Tell us a little about yourself, where you started, where you worked, a little bit about Redondo Beach, Cap, if you would.
Well, I started in 1971. I was drafted and entered into the Air Force and was a firefighter in the Air Force for 5 years. Came out in 1976 and went right into paramedic school. Graduated in 77 and went right onto the job, and left Redondo Beach in 2011. So I had 40 years combined. Redondo is 6 miles south on the beach from LA International Airport. 70-man department. We're running about, I don't know, probably about 8,000 calls a year, mostly medical. We do respond with all of the California departments on the brush fires. When you hear about Malibu and some of these other other areas, going up in smoke, we're there. We're immediate response. I spent 12 years as a union president, which I cherished it. It was great looking over and taking care of the guys, making sure that they were treated right and things were done properly. I enjoyed that. Was a shift investigator and fire marshal. So I had a full career.
Looks like you did it all.
Yeah. I was never got bored. That's for sure.
What companies did you work in? You work in an engine? You work in a truck?
We had a 100-foot aerial ladder truck. We had 5 engines, all paramedic engines, and we also had 3 squads. And so you rotated off. When you're on the rescue, you'd rotate onto the engine to kind of give you a break, but you were still a paramedic functioning on the engine if a second call came in. So
Cap, how many guys are in that department? How many
it's a
guys?
70-man department, but our border lines are so close that we run mutual and automatic aid at the drop of a hat. If a rescue is tied up in one city and they're backed up, we roll right across the border line and take care of them.
What about as far as structural fires? You guys see you share structural fires there as well?
You know, when I first came on in the late 70s, we were having structural fires probably 3 or 4 a week, which was, you know, big for us. And then they started dwindling down as new construction came, because what they were doing is they were tearing down these little 960 square foot beach cottages and putting up 2 on a lot because the lots were so big. In fact, we were going to change it from Redondo to Recondo Beach. And then, you know, with the construction, you know, came a fire sprinkler, residential sprinkler ordinance, and they started putting sprinklers in. Unfortunately, a lot of the guys today have yet to go down a hot, smoky hallway because these residential sprinklers dampen it down. You know,
Goddamn sprinklers, man.
Yeah, they're putting us out of work.
Cap, where that happens a lot, I'm assuming. Where is that geographically? I didn't look at the map. Where is that as far as you were saying somewhere pretty close to LA?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if you're over on the coast where LA International Airport is, the planes take off right over the ocean. We're 6 miles south.
All right.
Right on the coast. We've got almost 4 miles of beach. We've got a harbor patrol. We handle all the water rescue with the LA County lifeguards. So we get a little bit of everything.
Must have some views. You must have some views by the beach. You know what I'm saying there, Bob?
Yeah.
Walking around down there.
Yeah, those beach rescues are a pain.
Yeah.
You still live there? You still live there?
No, actually, we relocated. We're down in Huntington Beach, which is farther down the coast.
Get the hell out of there, right?
Yeah, I had to get out.
A little sketchy. I don't know. I keep seeing stuff on social media. I know it could be anywhere. New York, LA. I don't know what's Oakland. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's a free for all somewhere.
Yeah. We tried to get out down a little farther south and away from it. But yeah, anywhere along the coast.
Still beautiful.
If you're in LA and you're out on the coast, it's nice, you know.
Except for those earthquakes. Gotta be careful of the earthquakes.
That's what I keep telling my mother-in-law. keeps her in St. Louis.
You don't want to come out here, Ma. Too many earthquakes. You don't know what can happen.
Yeah. Oop, there's another one. Stay there.
Gotta go.
My mother-in-law, for years, I wouldn't kiss her face. I end up kissing her ass.
Yeah.
Hey, Rose, there's a Messerschmitt in the kitchen.
Rose, there's a Messerschmitt in the kitchen.
I want to get out of here before your fucking mother shows up.
But it's a different. The West Coast is different firefighting than you guys. You know, just a whole different style. I think you guys are historically a lot more aggressive.
Some more than others, maybe. You know,
but the type of building construction you have, and like I say to Ray, you know, if you don't get in there and get it stopped, you could lose a whole block. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Or a whole church. You know, or a bar, or a whole bar that you hang out with. I don't know.
150-year-old.
You mean a landmark? You mean a landmark bar?
Yeah.
288, the land of losing landmarks, bro. That's us, baby.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the topics. Bob Frank Bob wound up in the left-hand corner. So
where do you want to put him?
What?
Oh, he's good.
He's good.
Okay.
We'll start. What's the first topic we got?
Okay. First topic coming up is horizontal ventilation.
Horizontal.
This is my pet peeve.
Oh,
yeah, horizontal ventilation.
Already.
So,
all right.
Cap, let me ask you this. I see a lot of videos where guys are on the roof, on a peak roof, and they're cutting for ventilation. But as the guy's taking the picture, every window on the exposure is untaken, right? So, I mean, from when we get there, we are taking glass as long as the line is in operation, right? Obviously. I mean, before that, we used to have that you could take glass, you know, for life hazard. But now we kind of try and time it with the placement of the line. But I see guys constantly cutting a roof for vertical ventilation, which I can understand. We've had guys to explain that, but are you guys taking glass as soon as you get there? Like, what has been your experience?
On the West Coast?
Yeah, on the West Coast. What?
I mean, when I was on the job, and I mean, it's not my house and it's insured probably, so take it. You know, I never. I mean, I always felt that, especially if you're going to put positive pressure ventilation, you know, in place, it's got to have somewhere to go. And so it never bothered me to take a window on horizontal. You know, if it hadn't gone vertical yet, I just was more concerned about it going out the sides and getting it out the window so we could make entry. I don't know. Watching the smoke was really important to me. You know, was it lazy? Was it just kind of weeping out, or was it puffing under pressure? You know, those are important things for me on my size up. But yeah, I never hesitated to blow a door or take a window because I figured insurance is going to cover it.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're talking vertical ventilation right now, correct?
Yeah.
Horizontal,
No, horizontal ventilation.
Horizontal, I'm sorry.
side to side.
So I mean, obviously, you can't make a general statement because it depends what type of building you're in. You know, private dwelling,
yeah.
you're going to handle different from a tenement. You're going to handle different from a high rise. So, I mean, leaving high rises out of it, I don't think you can just do random horizontal ventilation. We're professionals. So, I mean, I saw one image that's in my head forever, and we all have a lot of them as firefighters. When I was in 132, right down exactly 1 block away on St. John's Place, daytime fire, first floor in a tenement. The neighbors saw it, and they decided that they're going to take the windows. So they picked up the garbage pail outside, went and broke all the windows while someone was calling 911. So, and we're only a block away. But just that act of breaking those windows on a cold winter day, that fire intensified. We got there, 280, got water on fire right away. We were in there making an aggressive search, knocking the fire down. And we found 3 kids, brothers and sisters, that probably started the fire playing with matches, being left home alone. But the 3 of them were welded together, burnt in a closet, because just an act of random horizontal ventilation. Had the windows remained, and we had gotten there, and we're making a concerted effort together, the truck moving in with the line, venting as you go. I can't tell you the kids would be alive, but they had a lack of chance. And as professionals, we can vent from the outside if it's in conjunction with the line's pushing in. But generally, on the fire floor, the trucks are moving in with the line and venting as they go. The floor above, you might be venting from the outside off of a ladder or an aerial device or a bucket. But
Yeah, and I mean, we were always conscious of, wind direction in the windward side versus the leeward. I wouldn't want to really blow a windward window and have, gusts of wind coming through there and charging it. So I'd want to make sure that it's got someplace to go.
Right. Well, you're also talking about a beach town as opposed to the middle of Bed-Stuy or Crown Heights, Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you might not, on a private dwelling, you may have the luxury of saying, okay, the wind's coming from the east, so we're not, we're going to open up, on the leeward side.
True.
But if
Bob, you mentioned positive pressure ventilation. That was a thing in the volleys before I stopped doing that, where they put a big fan outside the front door of the place. And, from what I read, the original intent of that was just to open one window in the back of the joint, and the fan would just push everything out that back window. And I'm like, well, wouldn't you want to get in and do a search ahead of writing off anybody that was in there by putting a big fan blowing 100 miles an hour wind into the dwelling? It just
Well, that was a big thing when I was, before I went into the bureau, was trying to communicate, and mostly your positive pressure ventilation was being done by the truck company. They're the ones with the fans, and it was communicating with them not to just stick the fan in the doorway and start it up before we had some place for it to go. You know, you got to let the interior crew either close some unaffected rooms and channel it to where you want it to exit. You know, you just couldn't fire up a 10,000 cubic foot fan and supercharge the building, you know.
It sounds like something that needs a lot more tactical planning rather than
right. That's a lot of coordination.
knee-jerk reaction.
I go back. I really like my way where I drag an inch and a half down and kick a window out and ventilate with the nozzle.
That inch and a half, you're showing your age. You know, I mean, that's
Oh, do they have something different now?
You know, positive pressure, I'm sure, has its place. Like you say, you know, like Chief Tracy and a lot of these guys, you know, we have books now on high rise and using the HAVAC system with zones every 10 floors, 15 floors and stuff. But
the stack effect, using fans to offset stack
but you
effect.
know what? When it comes to a private dwelling, the tenement, the commercial, I'm, you know, like I said, I remember I used to ride my dinosaur to the firehouse, but you know, tactics that are tried and true. You got, to me, that at those type of buildings that I just mentioned, that positive pressure ventilation was not something that was going to be the initial.
Not going to help anything.
Fire attack. You know, to me, that was always like secondary. You got the fire down. You know, you want to start getting some movement to, you know, make it easier to overhaul and make a secondary search. You know, that's a painstaking search. Yeah, then you were using we call them the smoke ejectors. You know, the fans.
Right.
But,
Right.
You know, I just don't. You know,
Cap,
again,
I don't know if
that's my old school thinking.
Are they still using that today, Cap?
You know, I don't know. I don't know if there's been some changes on the job out here. When I left in 2011, it was still a tactic that was being used. I was always kind of skeptical of, you know, firing up that thing and supercharging it when I was inside, you know.
Did you ever have one go bad where they set up the fan and you lost something because it was getting too much oxygen or something?
You know, not to my recollection did we lose something that wasn't going to be lost anyway. But one of my biggest concerns was like an attic fire, you know, single dwelling, and we've got it burning in the attic, and you supercharge that, you're going to blow a ceiling down on your crew. You know, I mean, if you haven't gotten on the roof and ventilated, and you charge that thing and give it tons of oxygen, you're going to blow the ceiling down on your crew. And I was not in favor of it, you know, under those conditions. But yeah, when I left, they were still using positive pressure.
I got a couple of things written down. Quick points. Number one, I used to hate rolling up and seeing the basketball through the window. Like, if you got to take the glass, trim the whole glass. Take the shades, all the blinds down, the curtains, whatever's there.
Screens got to go.
Screens, everything's got to go. I used to hate that scene of basketball. And don't be afraid to use the aerial. I can't tell you how many things we got written to us about how you guys use the aerial. You're damaging the rig. You know, it's
I was a truck chauffeur for a long time in a rear mount. I get that thing in the window and I would just drop it. You know, you're not doing any damage to the ladder. You know, you're letting the weight of the ladder hit the window. Yeah. It's all good.
Listen, back then, at least once a week, you were cleaning the soot and crap off the aerial and repainting the tip of it yellow. And you were making sure that maybe there wasn't any like structural cracks from the heat when you were, you know, from using it the way you did. But it was very effective and, you know.
Yeah, I can't tell you, Hank, how many emails I get about you guys, you know, compromising the rig, and it's not meant for that. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever.
We did a show with your brother. Your brother was the deputy, and he ordered them to put it through the window and up through the cock loft
because they couldn't get to it.
They couldn't get to it, and you know, we got like stuff written to us like you would have thought, like, holy mackerel, this freaking world is ending.
Listen, those people, they're living in a different world than we lived in for 30 years. You know, so it's you know, they got their own little mindset, and if you ever get on the block with the big boys, maybe you'll learn something.
You know, I don't know if you want to go any longer on this point, but just what the captain brought up about the attic fires before, and I know Louis' pet peeve is guys up on the big roof, but you know, we did it in the valleys, and it's done in the city too. But if you got that fire in the attic, I mean, first thing you're going to try is either if a lot of the older homes had attic windows. in each gable, so you could take the windows, and if they didn't have windows, there were smaller gable vents. You could at least take that. But if it's up there, you do want to try to get it up there and cut a hole in it. But that's
we got that. We got that in vertical venting. Let's not. We'll push that over to vertical.
I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry.
Okay, take it easy, slow down. All right, guys, what do you got next?
If you want, we can jump into verticals.
Yeah, we can do that.
But let's just jump in while we're on it. Let's just
go ahead. Vertical. So, what type of saw? Tips on cutting roofs.
So
okay, well, I've been
I'll be
talking.
Ray. Ray'll start first. He's in the middle.
You know, in the FDNY, we were just used to the circular saw, you know, the partner saw with a wood tip blade, 12 tips, 16 tips, whatever it was. And
24 it switched to.
20.
Went
Yeah,
from
they
12
went
to 24.
the carbide tips. You know, you had a guy assigned. You had a guy assigned to the roof. Roof ventilation was vertical ventilation was ultimately important, especially in occupied multiple dwellings, because
Flat roof.
the first thing that you're going to do is alleviate the interior conditions. I remember a lot of times being on a forcible entry team, going down a hallway, you know, in the stairwell. It was so hot. We were using cheaters, so you'd feel all the heat on your face, and you're going, man, take that skylight. You'd hear that glass break on the skylight, and everything would lift right away. And you're going, that's what vertical ventilation is about. It's about alleviating the interior conditions so that first, the guys that are on the job, the firefighters, can make where they got to go, and to allow the guys, the residents that might be trapped, give them a chance to get out. You know, cutting the roof. You know, you see, Louis. I saw that you mentioned on Facebook about guys.
I was I had to control myself.
Private dwellings. I just never understood why you had to get up on that private dwelling and cut the roof before you took all the windows on the first floor.
Was it me or every window on that whatever that side was there, the 3 side, let's say the back of the house. So the roof is like this, the back side with the top window, like Hank was just talking about, the attic window was up in the corner, let's say. Every window on that whole side was intact. And there was
a
guy on the roof cutting the roof.
You know, like the fire's already through the roof. It's self-vented. Maybe you should be worried about that horizontal ventilation
I'm not disagreeing with vertical ventilation in that instance. I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm saying that's your last spot to be, right? That's not your first spot. I mean, the attic, you don't have guys on. If the whole attic is on fire, you're not venting for anybody. You're venting for the fire.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
right.
Each type of building has its own needs, right? So if you're talking about a private dwelling, I think that, you know, ventilating, cutting the roof on an attic is like, it's like a circle jerk. Why bother? You know, but
that's my point. I feel like
if you're on a taxpayer, you know, if you're on a taxpayer and the fire's in that cockloft, you ultimately need, you know, somebody on that roof opening the roof. You need a couple floors. You need guys that know what they're doing. You need experienced guys. You need a big hole over the fire. Same thing as in a new law tenement, a 6-story occupied multiple dwelling that was built sometimes before 1920. Big wooden cockloft. If the fire was in that cockloft, it could be 1,000 square feet. Rather 5,000 square feet.
Never gets old.
You know, you're going to need a big hole over the fire. You're going to need trench cuts.
Right. You worked at 270. The land of 2.5-story buildings, for God's sakes. How many times did you have fire in the attic? Did you actually just go up through the interior and go up and stick the line up through the attic and put the fire out?
You went up in the attic and you put out the fire.
You put out the fire. Listen, I'm not saying they can't get crazy, and sometimes you have to, you know, poke holes from the inside. Once you're in there, poke out the roof shingles.
Like an old law tenement, you might have had to pull some ceilings underneath. But if there was a separate attic up there with a floor, you had no choice but to go up the attic stairs.
Well, what are you venting? That's my point. You're not venting for the guys. If the floor is hard, you're just venting the attic. So you're making that, like Hank would say, maybe you're making it worse.
Yeah, I just never understood the importance of it.
Wait, Hank wants to chime in. Go ahead.
Well, I didn't say to make it worse. First, I got my points, but I'm going to defer to the cabinet from the West Coast, because I don't want to shut you out. I mean, you deal with mostly peaked roofs over there, or did you have, you know, flat roofs and stuff that you were dealing with also?
No, they're all peaked roof. Flat roofs are.
So in your department's SOPs, if you had a fire, so let's say you had a 2-story private dwelling and then a peaked roof. If the fire was on the second floor or in the attic or both, would you normally put a roof man on the roof to cut that roof?
I guess that's where I say I'm watching my smoke. I'm trying to read the smoke and see if it's kind of lazy smoke or if it's in the attic and it's really pumping out of the vents.
I'm talking. You got a good job. You got flame. Active flaming, and it's pushing out of the eaves up in the attic, and the second floor is going.
Yeah, our primary would be to get on and cut the roof.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, that's why I'm saying you can't, like Louis, you can't just, in your opinion, it's not a good tactic, but there are departments, like I said, I on Long Island, when I came up in the Valleys and Ray, in Hicksville too.
They get on the roof right away.
It wasn't uncommon if you had a 2-story, most homes are 2 stories, 2.5, with the attic. If you had fire in the second floor, that you or in the attic or both, that you were going to put a man on the roof, and he was going to give you a vent hole. Yes, you were venting Gabe's first. So that was your visa. Was now roof man. He got to the roof. The difference that I say to the guys nowadays is the homes I had on Long Island were basically all stick built, meaning they were dimensional lumber. So you had 2x10s, 2x12. With a ridge pole going down the middle, and it took a good amount of fire to weaken those rafters to where you had to worry about a collapse. Now, when I started, after retiring and going around meeting guys all over the country, I got my buddies in the Carolinas, here in Florida and stuff, and I'm sure in on the West Coast, a lot of the homes, which newer areas than New York, everything is lightweight wood truss.
All truss construction.
Right. So to me, those roofs, you really have to be careful. If you're going to vent it, I would either want to be like working on from a bucket, or at least have an attic ladder that reaches from the ridge pole past the eave. So if the roof should belly, at least you have that attic ladder that you can make your exit. And you don't get off that ladder to cut. You're going to cut. It doesn't always have to be a square cut. It could be 2 foot by 4 foot down.
A triangular cut too,
And to add insult to this truss construction, they're putting the heavy duty clay tile roofs on them.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to ask you about.
So I last thing I would want is one of my crew members up there. Even in the early stages of a fire.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, Bob. We use the partner type circular saw. What was the saw of choice in California? Was it a chainsaw?
Well, yeah, on a regular comp or wood roof, yeah. But yeah, we use the partners.
What do you use for those clay tiles? Do they just smash them out of the way and then?
We just axe them, break them, and shove them aside, and then get down to the plywood and then go through it. Yeah.
Gonzo probably has some by him.
Yeah, so we have.
So you guys have the same thing?
Clay tile roofs. Yeah, we have a barrel tile and flat clay tile, just different styles. But yes, it's all that heavy.
How do you get on the roof with that? Like, it's got to be pretty slippery, no?
Hell yeah, we don't put people on the roof unless we absolutely have to. If not, they're going to try to reach or work from the bucket, or something like that.
Huh.
So I've never. We have a lot of slate tiles on the more expensive and older homes here in New York. I've never been on a job with a slate tile
roof. It's got to be
roof.
ice skating rink.
Yeah, with the little ice breakers on. So if you slide off that, you're getting your nods.
Yeah.
I have been on a slate roof, and it's not a pleasant experience. And the other thing you have to worry about with slate or even Spanish tile, once you're up there, when you start breaking these things, they're heavy. What's going to happen? They start sliding down the ridge. If you've got people that are walking in and out, or even a line,
right?
You could cut the line. Or you hit somebody even with the helmet.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
you're taking them out. So if you decide you have to open that up, there's got to be like a safety person on the bottom that's keeping people clear and watching what's coming down.
Yeah,
I'm just going to chime in with something that I think Lou's trying to say too. The thing that pisses Lou off a lot is that there are a lot of other things that can be done before you. it seems to me like a lot of these guys are running up to the roof first to cut the roof, like it's I don't know, like it's
It looks
like
good.
I always
like it
called them
looks
the
good.
volunteers. I said,
It
those
looks
are the
good.
fresh air firemen.
And not one guy.
or it's a
And
good
not
thing
not
to do.
one guy. I
Yeah,
see
yeah,
these
it's 5
houses
guys.
that have
Yeah.
6 guys up there,
Right.
and every
Which-
window's intact, and
Right.
I don't even know if there's a line.
I'm
in
saying
the
to you,
goddamn
there's a
roof.
course of progression. You should
That's
do
what I'm
these other things
Thank
before
you.
you get on the roof.
The
Also,
roof looks like a
even
convention.
if
that
it's a
somebody got
flat
on.
roof, right? There's things we do before we cut the roof. We'll take the skylights. We'll take the natural openings. We'll
You
take
look at the rear. You got a lot of shit to do.
we'll take the bulkhead door, and then we'll cut. Right? It seems like guys are rushing to the cut for some reason. I don't know.
Again, you guys are thinking like paid firemen that know what your manpower is, and everybody already has an assignment, because if it's a private dwelling, you're going to be dictated by lattice 4. If it's something else,
Right.
it's going to be lattice 5. So everybody knows what their assignment is. But if you're talking about the volunteers, which is I think like 90% of the United States, the call could come in. You don't know if you're going to have 4 guys or 40 guys.
All right. So then
If you had 3 guys show up,
why can't you do those other things first before you cut the roof?
so if 3 guys
Don't
show
take
up, you
long
would
to take-
send
I'm
a
not
guy
saying-
to the roof.
I'm not saying.
I think that's a department-wide thing, and it's like, and it's a department mentality. It's how they think, and we can't second guess what they do, because they might be running short. Like Hank said, they might have 4 guys show up on a daytime alarm.
Right.
And
yes,
they're not really watching what people do. So one guy goes, "I'll cut the roof." He goes up on the roof. He starts to cut the roof, and that's just the way.
Right.
It's just the way it is.
right.
Some of it's
Listen, there were guys in the volunteers that remember, chiefs are elected in the volunteers. So there were chiefs that were very good at running a fire, and there were chiefs that couldn't put the fire out in a paper bag. So if that chief happens to be the one at that job and he doesn't know what he should be telling guys to do, then you get the clown car syndrome, and you might not be getting the sequence of events that you want. So like I said, we were lucky. I mean, I look at it from both sides, because I was a volunteer.
Yeah, right.
For
You were a
30 years
volley,
in
right? Yeah.
the city for 24. So, and my department, Freeport, was a pretty busy department. So I mean, we did see a lot of fires, a lot of private dwellings, and
Point taken.
It's a big cultural change. That's what's going on, believe it or not, depending on your area or whatnot. Like us, it's been training. You have flow paths and all these other options that you have before you go to those other tactics.
We're not going to do it on the air, but the next time we get together and you're buying the first beer, you can explain flow tactics, because I still haven't been able to grasp that.
That will be 9/11. He's coming up to stay with me on 9/11.
Flow with the
Okay.
flow. You
got to go with the flow.
And if Jerry Tracy's listening, Jerry, I apologize, but
We
I
love
still,
you, Chief.
I can't figure out the flow tactics yet. I
got
do
your
get
flow
it in the
path.
high rise, but in smaller buildings, I haven't figured it out yet.
Right.
To me,
Oh,
it's
who
the-
could? Oh, dude, I got the perfect person. You know who could tell you about the flow path? Your old lady. Oh!
Second
Look at the cap. Look at the cap. He's like this. What?
Frank the Tank.
Frank the Tank.
All right.
All right, guys. Next one.
All right, hey, listen. Coming in shit hot, we have Rob in the chat with a question. We want to answer it, or we
Rob.
want to save it?
Go ahead, throw it up there, Rob.
Here we go. Let me pull it on up. Wait for my computer to pull it up. We got a little delay. It seems to be the problem tonight. There we go. If you open the bulkhead and are met with fire, what does that tell you? What action should you take?
Okay, who's the question for?
It seems to be in general, so we can do both sides if we have.
Having had a roof a couple times, I would have immediately notified the incident commander that I opened the bulkhead and I got fire coming out the bulkhead. That's telling you that the interior stairwell's involved. There might be a separate load of fire that was illegally stored at the top of the bulkhead. But that's telling you that conditions inside is still going to remain really volatile for the guys on the people that are counting on that roof ventilation to alleviate the interior conditions. You got to let the interior.
Right.
It could tell you too that there's somebody setting separate fires. Maybe the fire's on the first floor.
And there used to be a thing they used to do the gasoline pours in the stairwell.
Right. I was going to say, it's not uncommon to get the stairs poured from the bulkhead right down, and that would have every floor involved. But
so then it was always assholes and elbows out the windows You know,
I mean, it could be
really,
that
my
just
first
the
job
apartment.
my first job at 117 was one of those stairwell pours. My first detail to a truck company was a stairwell pour
Oh, shit.
in lot of 117, and ended up getting a unit citation. There
117.
were people out the windows everywhere.
117.
Fire
It was raining
factory.
babies.
My,
Raining babies. 117.
yeah,
The sponges.
I've said this before on one of the other podcasts a long time ago, but my first nozzle job, my first year on the job with 280, we went first due on the second alarm to 5th and Sackett, and it was a stairway pour, and we ended up doing a fire escape stretch to the top floor, 2.5. Went in the window. I had the nozzle, and I had the old Irish Captain Doherty and a seasoned backup, helping the kid along, helping me. And I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but at that it ended up we had 6 DOAs, a mother and 5 kids, from a stairway pour.
Did Doherty have a fucking brogue? Did Doherty have a brogue and say, "Get the fuck in there, Mole. Put the fucking fire out"?
He actually did have a brogue, yes. But
he did.
Going back to the original question. All right, so you got the bulkhead open. First thing is, let's make sure the bulkhead door stays open. Break the top hinge, chock it, whatever you got to keep the door open. Second, is the fire consuming the whole door, or is it rolling over the top? Because if it's rolling over the top, you still get down on your belly. You got your hook and your light, and try to look down and see if anybody was trying to get out through the roof, which some people try to do. Maybe you got somebody that's unconscious on the stairwell. And if that's the case, then I can't tell you what to do. That's up to your experience,
your balls,
and whether you're going to try to make a move or not. If you
Right there.
Right there. If you got
Right
those,
you got to pretend those are testicles.
If you're making a move, you definitely got to get on. You're going to get on the radio. That you're going to do. You're going to let them know exactly what you have and exactly what your move is, because if the brothers are going to be down below trying to move the line and hit fire. So, that's the one in 1,000 cases. But if you're up there, that's what you got to do. If it's just all fire and you've got the bulkhead door open, that's only the first of your assignments up there. Get your perimeter search done. See if there's anybody hanging out a window.
Get down that rear fire escape.
Right. Get your stuff done on the roof. Take the skylight on the roof if you have to. See if there's a draft curtain down below. Break that. Yeah. And when all of that's done, then you're going down the rear fire escape and getting in the top floor.
Cap, do you have bulkheads? I mean, did you have a lot of flat roofs there, or you didn't deal with that at all, really?
No, not like you guys have. I mean, in commercial buildings, you
Mostly
would.
commercial, right?
Yeah, but I mean, apartment buildings, it's usually very minimal access to the roof. Most of them didn't give the residents, there might be a attic scuttle hole, with a straight ladder. But yeah, not the big opening, swinging door to the roof unless they're a commercial.
All those were all sprinkled too at that time, even back then, huh?
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think when they weren't.
Ruining the job for us, man. Ruining it.
It was easy out here.
So wait.
That's how I did 40.
Cap, if you're talking about a multiple dwelling and there was no fire escapes, they had what? So did the sprinkler count as the second means of egress?
Say again.
If the buildings that you just said didn't have fire escapes, but they were multiple dwellings, so. And I take it they're not fireproof buildings with like an enclosed fire stair. Does the fact that they're totally sprinkled, does that count in the California code as like their second means of egress?
Yeah, I would assume so, because all of our newer buildings don't have fire escapes. You just don't see them.
But it's all
an unnamed California fire department. I was hanging out with a ladder company. I said, so. Who's assigned to the roof at an occupied multiple dwelling? And they all looked at me like I told my dog, you want to go for a walk? Like it just wasn't something that they planned on. It just wasn't something that they did.
Yeah.
Well,
I said, well, you open the roof, the bulkhead. You have bulkheads? Yeah. You open the bulkhead, everything gets better inside. That head tilt. Okay, good.
No
Have a
big,
biscuit.
no picking,
No.
you pick your panty. What?
You're taught that at the academy.
It's just it's a different mentality, and like I said before, every fire department has its own mindset, its own SOPs, its own its own life. So you really can't say, you can't assume what they do, and you can't second guess or judge it.
Yeah, you can go downtown LA to the old 5-story, 6-story apartment buildings to see the fire escapes with the ladders that'll drop to the street. But yeah, all your newer construction, they don't have them. Yeah.
Interesting.
Right.
All right, what else we got there?
Truck work is not. I mean, we're used to it in the Northeast, but it's only starting to catch on in some of the bigger cities. I think heading south, because when I visit guys, a lot of them use a lot of the FDNY ladders bulletins as a basis to work off their own SOPs now. But like truck work was always kind of secondary in a lot of places. And they still are in smaller departments. It's just like you said, it's dictated by the type of buildings, size of department, manpower. So
Manpower, especially. I mean, guys, departments with 2 or 3 guys riding on a rig. What are you going to get done? You're going to.
What did you have show up to an alarm, Cap, on a box, a report of a fire?
On a single family?
Well, yeah, whatever. A report of a fire, a building structure.
We'd get 3 engines, a truck, a rescue on the first alarm.
When you say a rescue, you mean like an ambulance, right?
Yeah. I mean, our squads out here are firefighter paramedics. So my job on the rescue with my partner was to make entry and start search and rescue, and then the engine crews protected us with the lines. So the paramedics are actually part of the firefighting crew. We're not sitting back on the lawn.
So that was like DeSoto and Gage back in what was?
Yeah, I was just gonna say like emergency, like watching emergency.
Yeah, I knew those guys.
And big time fan. He was like he could have been those guys. He was like in the 70s.
I went a couple hallways with that guy.
Yeah. I think he's dead now. He just died, that guy.
Did he just pass away?
Yeah.
Cage, right? Cage.
Yeah.
Gage, I think it was Gage or something.
Yeah,
sorry,
Johnny
Gage.
and Roy. Yeah.
Dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got, Gonzo? Go to the
All
next
right,
one.
here's the next one. Keep it rolling. We're dealing with size up from the ticket to the front door.
All right, Hank.
Well, let's get
All right.
the captains.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's get the captain talk. Go ahead, Bob.
All right, Bob, Frank, whatever. Bob, Frank.
Cap. How do you receive your ticket? You get a physical ticket at the house watch, like you guys.
Yeah,
have
there's a
house
teletype. The teletype prints out everything that the dispatcher's giving you.
Do you get any critical information like computer assisted, like building information, hazardous materials, things like that?
Probably not on the initial printout. It's going to give you your address, your cross street. I'd have to go down and think of everything. The time of the alarm. All of the secondary stuff was coming afterwards. But yeah, I mean, when we rolled up, I was primarily residential. I had a huge McDonnell Douglas aircraft plant at the north end of the town. But yeah, when we rolled out, we were looking for any signs that we were actually going to go to work. And narrow streets, beach cities always have narrow streets with parking on either side. Hydrant locations were, in my city, were excellent. We had great hydrants and great pressure, so we really didn't have to worry about a water source. Our first due would go straight to the address, and then the second engine would lay us a supply line. Truck would usually come in from the other direction. And like I say, the size up is everything from the weather, the type of building we're rolling on, anything that we can see in the air that's giving us an indicator that what might be burning or what might be involved. So
You guys are dealing with wind a lot, I would imagine.
Onshore, around 4:00 every day, summer or winter, you get an onshore, and that's when the land is cooling and The ocean's getting cold. You get that onshore. So yeah, it definitely picks up in the afternoon.
How were your
was not
dispatches?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
How were your dispatches? Like you said, you were rolling out, wondering, like looking for signs. Like, like if your dispatches, would they tell you, hey, listen, Captain Bob, we're getting numerous phone calls here or something like that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
PD's on scene. This is a working fire.
Okay.
PD's on scene. Nothing showing. They're reporting they can't find anything. But yeah, they would keep feeding us information all the way to the call until we went, 1097. And as soon as the dispatcher, we're getting multiple calls, you knew that you were going to be doing something,
So different. Go ahead, Coops. I'm sorry.
Did you guys have to deal with the freeway? That thing that's always backed up over there?
My city had about a mile and a half north and south of the San Diego freeway.
So you guys never got on that, probably, right? Or tried
Oh
not to get on. You did?
And that I hated it. I hated freeway work. Terrible.
Yeah.
That's gotta suck.
But you got, out on Long Island, you got the expressways and everything.
We got it in Manhattan. We got it everywhere. This traffic.
The 288. You're sitting in the office and you look at it.
Kill myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like they used to say, rush hour.
No, there is no rush.
There's
It's
no more rush
day.
hour. It's
No, there isn't. Here,
from
yeah.
7 o'clock in the morning until midnight.
I remember my mother used to
Literally,
tell me,
it's
my
7
mother used
o'clock
to say,
in the
make sure you're home before rush hour starts.
Yeah.
Now you're like, what? Rush hour? It's all day.
Yeah.
It never
7 in
stopped.
the morning
Rush hour
until
never stopped.
midnight.
And, of course, we're the kings of pursuits also out here,
Oh, that's right. You guys do the pursuits.
Oh, yeah. Every day there's a pursuit,
Oh,
That's still going on, huh?
Yeah.
So you guys
just in
generally
case you
go
didn't
to-
know, listen, OJ didn't do it. I didn't know if you
yeah.
knew that. I'm just throwing that out there.
So if you had to guess, you guys were going to the same types of building, all those in that particular firehouse or whatever. Most of the firehouses in that department are going to the same type of building. Generally, what would you say?
You mean our everyday response?
Yeah, like what kind of buildings were you like? Did you have areas like different firehouses that had, 6-story buildings, or was it
downtown at headquarters? Their response area had 7, 8-story apartment buildings along the beach. The station that I was at for 19 years of my career, it was all single, 2-story residential. Strip malls, you had the typical nail shop and the tobacco shop and 7-Eleven all in a strip mall, which had commonality.
Good.
So
Yeah, good.
There's a classic case of having to do some strip ventilation just to stop it from running the whole strip mall. But yeah, most of our stuff, like I say, I had a giant 3-story shopping mall, and then the big Northrop Grumman aircraft plant, at the north end of town, which, they had hazardous materials. They had secret areas where they said you'd never get in and do anything except when they had something, then they called you in. But
Close
yeah,
your
we
eyes,
didn't have.
don't look.
I'm sorry.
They would say, close your eyes. Don't look at it. It's top secret stuff.
Come in here, but don't look. Nothing. My experiences on the job really after 9/11 and visiting New York was a real experience. My trucks are 20 years old and they look like they just came off the showroom floor. Nothing like Rescue 4. But
never heard of them.
Yeah. But
Kat, did you have wooden ladders on your rigs?
No, we're all aluminum.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, LA City though is wooden.
They do.
LA
San
City,
Francisco. I
all
think San
wooden
Francisco's
San
wooden
Francisco
too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leather helmets in San Francisco too. That's right. It's funny. I had when I went to 108, I had a couple of bosses. You'd get off the rig for any phone alarm, and the first thing would say, "How tall is this building, and how many windows do you see?" And if you got to the front door, when they said that, they'd say, how many apartments per floor, because they counted on you looking at the doorbells, doing the size up, and seeing, you know, like, okay, it's, you know, how many, 1, A, B, C, D, E, whatever. And they wanted you to look at that stuff, and they expected you to know that to be able to start sizing up the building.
Yeah.
And I think that's becoming a lost art, where the you sort of kind of just reacting instead of being proactive and sizing up your problem. What are you going to deal with?
Or even walking up, right? You used to walk up to six floors, you know, just take a peek on the 5th floor before you get to the 6th floor, just to see
That
how
was
the
like
layout of the hallway,
they told the engine officer, you know, get to the fire floor, drop down, and if you get in, get a load of the fire department, the floor below, so you know the layout.
Right.
Well, and also, you know, if you have to ditch into some place, you know, just
Yeah, you know which way you're going.
which way you're going.
Well,
You know, you bring some, you know, I taught at the college academy for a number of years. And the one thing that I used to tell the students was that, you know, the one thing that you're never going to get out of any of these books or classes that you take is experience. And
Very true.
if you get hired and you get picked up on the job because this was a college academy, you better listen to your older guys. You better listen to the guys that have been on a spongy roof, and listen to the guys that have been down a hot, you know, burning hallway. Because you're not going to read a book and understand what it is until you've done it.
Yeah.
What do you got, Hanky, before I chime in?
Well, I mean, obviously, you know, with the FDNY, we had the, you know, the teleprinter, and you know now
SID information.
You know, I mean, now there's even like there's full consoles in the rig and everything with giving them information and GPS and all. But basically, when that alarm came over, the house watchman should be on the bitch box, giving all the pertinent information that's on it. You know, your box, the address, fire reported, 3rd floor, and we have the SIDS, which is Critical Incident Dispatch System, which basically is, as every company has gone on BI, the officer has the
Louis.
SIDS card.
Wait,
I was going to say,
not every company.
Why does it always come back to me? All
When
the time?
most companies go on BI.
Well, I would assume that by the time Lou went out there, most of those buildings had SIDS cards on them already. So that lets you know if you were going into a building with hazardous materials, if it was commercial. It lets you know if you had handicapped people, anything that was pertinent to that alarm. Now you're on the rig, you're responding. Everybody should be listening to that radio as you're gearing up, because that dispatcher may be getting more and more information on the way. Like you said, he's getting numerous calls. Listen, we're getting numerous calls. Now it's reported fire on the 2nd and 3rd floor, reported kids trapped on the 3rd floor. You know, somebody reported jumped in the rear yard. And you gather up all that information. It never stops. And then when you get there, that's when, boom, now it's your size up. Is there a fire escape in the front? Because 99% of the time, that means I got apartments front and rear. You know, if there's a gooseneck though in the front, then maybe I don't have a rear fire escape. So, you know, all of these, you know, things you might not get on your SIDS card, but that comes
Right.
You know, once you gather as much information as you can, and then you count on your experience as you're sizing up to go into that building.
I think the best aid to size up is knowledge of your response area.
Right.
And
Right.
and that's where I know Louis hated it, but I think that's where BI was an important part of that.
Doing pre-plans.
Gaining that knowledge so that you first. I remember we were on BI and we found a rear tenement, and then a couple weeks later we had a fire in a rear tenement, and I had the can and I went right to the rear tenement, and the boss goes, "Where'd you go?" I said, "Well, I went to where the fire was, the rear tenement." He goes, "Well, you didn't tell me," and that was I should have said, "Listen, I know there's a rear tenement," you know. And the boss sort of lambasted me for leaving him, but I went to where the fire, and he wasn't wrong, you know. I mean, I should have said it is a rear tenement, and I'm going there, and then so like I was like, "Well, I was in the fire building. Where the fuck were you?" Probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
Swing and a miss, he struck him in.
Yeah.
The cranky old lieutenant.
Two a lot of them.
Right.
But you know,
We did have a few.
down
of
to
those,
brass taxes, like knowledge of your response area is
Absolutely.
really essential to your size up.
Yeah.
It's key. You can just know a size of just by the address coming in, what you have.
For the record, I will state
Wow.
that there was
you go.
nobody in that company that put in more SIDS than I did. I might not have been running out on BI every day,
I got the gavel. For the
But-
record, let the record show.
but I did on every run. If there was something wrong with the building, or if there was something that needed to be done on an EMS run or a gas leak or something I noticed, the SIDS always went in, brother.
Listen, you don't explain to
Simple.
anybody, Lucy.
You don't have got to
And that-
explain to nobody, Lucy.
Nothing. You
And
want to
that's
play rough?
That's because you were taught in Squad 288. That's why.
I'm gonna give
Possibly,
you
possibly.
my little nuggets that I got here.
Go ahead, kid.
For me, what guys, a lot of guys don't pay attention to is you could pick a lot of stuff up on the radio as you're coming in, not from the dispatch. Well, not from the dispatcher, but from who's ever given the reports.
Fly ground too.
Sometimes you can pick up the fire ground in the back. You can determine, do they have water on the fire? If you can hear it pick up in the back, you can listen to, is the aide disheveled and is he excited? Do they have water on the fire? Is it going good? So for me, that was always an indicator of they ain't got this, man. We're gonna do some work here. Or they have problems with water. And for me, it was always water on the fire makes everything go away. And you can tell by listening to the radio, by either the panic in the voice or the trepidation in the voice, or like Ray said, the fire ground. If they don't have water on the fire or if things are going south, you can pick that up on the radio coming in.
Absolutely.
But you're talking like a guy
Go
coming
ahead,
in
go
on a
ahead.
special unit. You're talking like a guy like we did. We came in a special unit.
Right.
So, but I'm saying if you're on that first alarm,
You
you're
can
not
also
gonna
hear
have
it
that-
if you're second
No.
due or you're third due. You can still hear it coming in.
Listen,
But I'm saying if-
Kevin and Hank, you guys were squad chauffeurs. If you responded as a squad and you heard about water problems, what did you do?
My first thing, whether there was no water problems or not, I would pass by the pump panel, the first due, and make sure he was getting water. And if he had a problem, what can I do to help you, bro? Because that probably would do more. I would have more impact on the fire than I would if I was walking around on fucking fire floor. Help him
Hank,
out.
what's
you
your
know-
take on that?
Well, you know how Louis was to BI. I'm allergic to water, so I would just tell him, yeah, sorry, my pump's not working. I got something to do, and no,
No.
like you had to do the right thing. I just, I got to the squad with 19 years on, so I had been a ladder company chauffeur and a rescue company chauffeur. I never felt comfortable on the pump. I mean, I did like my first job as a chauffeur. I had to go into volume because I was pumping into 2 tower ladders, but it was like,
Not for anything, but because I was a volley, I was really experienced being a pump operator. So that was ingrained in my mind that unless you got water on the fire, then you got a problem.
Mhm.
So I was always attuned to that as a squad chauffeur. And a couple fires I went to, one fire, the guy didn't have the rig and pump. Couldn't understand why he didn't have water. Another time, the guy hooked up to a hydrant that had a white disc on it, which means in New York City means that
As a
it's
service.
not working.
To try it, yeah.
So I mean,
Little
There's
things.
some-
You can
there's
help
some kind of
out.
bad things that can be avoided.
There's
You know?
there's somebody wrote in the thing there. This was a good question. Dave Bauman.
Let me go back to it.
He's just saying, could you read the SIDS en route, or did you always have to ask for it to be read out loud? So when the SIDS comes on, the dispatcher, after that person gets through, just so people know, when they get through reading the address to the building, they'll read that twice. The cross streets, all that stuff, and then they'll ask the chief if he wants the SIDS to be read, right? And then the chief would say, of course, read the SIDS. And then the dispatcher would read the SIDS.
Right.
Some dispatchers would read it on their own just because they were heads up. But if when I was in the truck, especially, if the SIDS came up and there was something that stuck out to me when I read it, I would yell it back to the guys just so they knew there was an elderly person in 4A, or there's steel plating or whatever it was, that there's roll down gates in the rear,
Right.
so that if
Fog
the guys
windows.
at the time didn't have a screen in the back, so they wouldn't see it. Now they do, but
Right.
back then they didn't have a screen there. So if there was something that stuck out, most of the SIDS is 20 by 40. It's whatever. whatever, just basic stuff, 3-story, whatever the heck it was. It was something
Things
that
that-
wasn't really too interesting. But if there was
Things that
something that
are-
really stuck out to me, I would definitely tell them. So that was good.
Those are the things that because we started using SIDS down here, and we just need the pertinent information that's going to play into our tactics.
Right.
So that's the valuable information that we need. Like I said, just to make a tactical decision.
What about the tactics of getting the show on the air when it starts? Does that count?
I deserve it, man. I don't know.
No. Next question. What's next?
We let it go a little
You
long.
got to get the captain. Get the captain involved a little
Yeah,
bit.
go.
Yeah. All right. So listen, we'll keep going with the. Well, we're going to skip one question. We're going to go into private dwelling, and multiple dwelling, and I'll just pull the question up here. So commercial. Some of our dangers in these related topics.
Go ahead, Cap.
So, why don't you take private dwellings, since you had a lot of private dwellings in your area?
What were the things you looked at in those types of buildings there, Cap, that stuck out to you, if you remember? I mean, the roof thing the weight on the roof is something that I would think is we don't see that too often, right? The tiles.
Yeah, I don't. Nothing really comes to mind in private dwellings that outside of just the fire load inside.
Open, unenclosed stairway.
Life hazard is always there. 24.
Yeah, the life. Yeah, and time of day. As to what you might have for life hazard.
I read something once that across the country, most firefighters killed in private dwellings.
Yeah.
Rather than any kind of building.
I think even this year, if you look at this year,
right? Yeah, and maybe sometimes it's because they think it's easy and they're complacent in their attack. I don't know.
The bread and butter fire thing, I mean, I think that's the open door to complacency.
Yeah.
The majority of your fires in the United States are in private dwellings, so it kind of coincides with the number of fire deaths also.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you it's like anything else. If you don't drill and like you said, you may not be in a department that's that busy, but it only takes that one fire to kill you.
Right.
So
if you look
maybe alterations that somebody does that's not
illegal alteration.
Yeah, and I know I've been in a couple of buildings back there where people have done their own modifications that you wouldn't expect if you go into an apartment building. Now all of a sudden, they've blown the wall out and taken over another apartment or something. I don't know. But yeah, we don't have too much of that out here. We don't have any, scabbed on,
Was the buildings all the same, Cap? Like, were they like cookie cutter, like in certain areas?
You have your housing tracts that are cookie cutter. Every fourth house looks the same. But yeah, in the older 1950s, they were all different construction, different shapes and square footage based on lot size. In my city, we had narrow lots. They were 50 by 250. So that's why when they started tearing down these little beach cottages, then they were putting in the 2-story, 3 townhomes on a lot, So the back one, you had a long driveway getting to the back unit, which could have been, almost 2,500 square feet with a 2-car garage underneath. So
they're all interconnected.
Yeah, by like the one on the street, when you got to the back, it had a balcony and a wall, and their balcony on the second floor that went into maybe the master bedroom or something, and they just progressed on back.
Is it hilly there, Cap, or is it flat?
No, pretty flat. My town, we're down on the beach, so we don't have a lot of topography. Pretty flat.
You guys do, not to get off the subject, but quick, do you guys do a lot of beach stuff, a lot of beach rescues and all that?
Well, we have the LA County lifeguards who are part of the fire department. They come under the direction of the LA County Fire Department. So they do all the water rescue, but we do all the care. So if they pull a drowning out of the water,
I got you.
we're down on the beach doing the actual medical side of it.
I got you.
So yeah, I
he's
can't put
running
my
in with David
finger on.
Hasselhoff.
I'm sorry.
He's
Look
running
like David
in there with David
Hasselhoff.
Hasselhoff.
It's a visual.
I just
know
got to
what-
say one word that it's a private joke between Bob and I. Randy Lyman. That's all I have to say.
Oh God.
That's all.
Yeah, I know what I think we're having. We might have the next Getting Salty Beach party out in Huntington Beach, California. Roof. That's what I'm saying. You know what
Bob's
I mean?
house? What are we
Oh,
doing?
hanging out with Bob. Yeah, man.
What about Bob? That's what I'm
about Bob?
saying.
It's all about Bob.
Yeah.
I've got a real nice spousal avoidance center in the back.
That's the first time I heard it like that. That's a good one. I like it.
I'm not ashamed. I'll sleep there. I don't care.
We call it the sack.
Yeah. All right, Ray. Take what's next?
Taxpayers.
Taxpayers in a commercial.
Taxpayers. Go ahead.
It's funny. Bob and I were talking about taxpayers, aka strip malls, one-story commercial buildings built on the cheap. Originally in New York City, they were built as exactly that. There was a vacant lot, and the property owner wanted to pay the taxes, so he put it up as cheap as he can.
For shack, right? Initially.
You know, some steel, some masonry and brick, you know, wood roofs. And I tell the story all the time. Brian Fahey, 3 days before he died, and the taxpayer said, basement fires and taxpayers are fireman killers. They burn fast and they fall down fast. We have to, in New York City and in the volunteers, we treat it as, you know, get in the front door as fast as you can, big water 2.5, worry about the exposures. And the roof is really important. You know, I mean, there's limited horizontal ventilation. You might have big glass front windows in the front. You might have a couple of small windows and doorways in the back that are fortified beyond belief. So the guys on the roof, they really have to be on their game. They have to be exactly on point. Size up where the fire is. Look for the sign of a fire underneath. And in the winter, it's easy. If there's snow up there and it's melting, you say, that's where I'm going to cut. You know, melting tar was another sign that you'd look for. You'd look for that little where on the rolled roof for the seams. You'd see that little bubbling spot. You see it melting, and you have to pay attention to where it was. But I think the most important thing is, again, engine work comes down to that big water on line in the fire. And I keep on thinking about that taxpayer fire. The lieutenant died, and it was it ended up being one of those 99-cent stores.
Kaplunk.
Carplunk.
Yeah.
I was there. I worked that job.
You know, they did some illegal alterations, and the floor collapsed, and he went down, and he was alive for a long time.
Proby too.
He was talking when we got him. Right. He was
yeah.
still talking while we were getting him out. He was still talking.
Yeah, I mean, a terrible situation. I just think like God rest his soul, Brian Fahey said that they're fireman killers, and you really got to treat them with the utmost respect.
Hanky,
Hey,
what do you got to add to that? You got anything to add? Taxpayers? Yeah.
No, Ray. I mean, you know, Ray hit on most of it. It's just where the fire is. You know, if it's a cellar fire, you know, basement fire, you got your work cut out for you. And venting is you know, there's no basement windows to vent. So if they're putting a push on, you know, one of the things we always did was try to cut a hole in the floor on the first floor, make sure that the front glass window was out. You're going to cut a hole in front of it, and pretty much, you know, making it like a roof vent. You're giving the heat somewhere to go, the fire someplace to travel, and you're giving the engine a chance to get down there with the line and push it somewhere.
Like the gym fire we had, right?
Hank, this is a Manhattan question.
Like the fire we had in the gym that time. It was
Yes.
your idea to cut the hole in the floor on the first floor. It was
That
a basement fire.
LA Fitness or something on Queens Boulevard, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Did a couple guys go down at that fire?
One guy
Yes.
went down.
Yeah,
Big guy.
from Rescue 4.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ricardo.
I think that was the first job that we were, as a squad, we were really able to make our mark there, because we were involved in rescuing the down firefighter, venting the building,
And putting the fire out.
Putting the fire out. We had the line too, so that was like, yeah, the first time
We did that in the YMCA. You remember that, Hank? The fifth alarm in by Northern Boulevard there.
Yes.
We did that too.
Yes.
That was some. Oh my God, baby Jesus.
Yes, I have a funny story, but I don't want to go on with it.
That was.
Hey, Hank, I want to ask you a question, Hank. Talking about taxpayers, and in Manhattan, it was really prevalent where you'd see like the glass in the street right in front of the building.
Those are deadlights.
The deadlights.
Yes.
Did you find that they were effective to help ventilating basement and cellar fires?
Well, normally, yeah, you're normally going to find deadlights in the loft buildings, because you have cellars and Louis' favorite sub-cellars. And basically, they were the old lofts. Remember, they were built prior to electric lighting, so they had deadlights in the sidewalk, and that was to allow.
When you were a player in high school.
Exactly. so that would allow light down to the cellars and sub-cellars, and the actual floors inside the lofts, the centers of the floors, were also glass deadlights, and that allowed light to trickle through from floor to floor, whatever light they could take in. Back in the day, yes, you could vent that. It would give you a limited vent of the cellar, but sometimes that was other than cutting the floor on the first floor, that was the only vent you could get. And a lot of times that would be above a sidewalk vault. And a lot of times over the years that they would have put a partition up in the actual basement. So unless you were able to break that partition down, you weren't getting a good vent. And it was really where they were more of a problem was if you were a tower ladder or an aerial chauffeur trying to get close to the building. If you put your tormentors or an outrigger down in those deadlights,
Push it down.
You could end up. Well, it would hold it, but then once you start moving it and the weight.
The weight.
Starts going
Yeah. You transfer the weight.
You could end up breaking those skylights and ended up down in the sidewalk. So
Did that happen?
I believe it did happen in the past. Now you'll see a lot of the places where they have deadlights now, they'll get diamond plate and it'll be covered with diamond plate. But when you see that on the sidewalk, that there's deadlights below.
One of the things I remember from the old books was talking about the old city taxpayers, where if you took out the front windows and there was a little display area in the front,
that's a good vent.
They would tell you to take out the window and take out that display area because it went right down to the basement.
Wide open.
It'd be a good way to vent the basement.
Those are the old school stores.
It wasn't like a platform built on a floor. That was just a platform, and it's the same thing as cutting the floor, except if you cut that, it was generally open down below. But you still had to take your hook and give a shot to make sure that
there's very few of those now left.
Like doing the roof, you turn the hook around and take the handle end and not the business end, and you drop that down to open everything up.
Right.
Yeah, those are done.
All right, what's the last one? Okay.
Multiple dwellings.
All right, I do stop multiple dwellings. Let's move fast on this one.
No, I feel bad.
He didn't have multiple dwellings by him.
Okay.
I don't think the captain had multiple dwellings, right, Cap?
Right. No, I don't think he did.
Cap, can you hear us?
What are you defining as a multiple?
Did you have
anything over 4 stories? Anything over 2 apartments per floor?
Oh yeah, we've got them.
Oh, all right.
Sure, yeah, we've got. You've got with the open breezeways that are open to the outside, where you walk down the breezeway and come to your apartment door, and then we've got interior hallways with apartments going on, each way.
So you had long stretches there, right? If you had to go through the breezeway, right?
Well, those standpipe buildings?
Yeah, standpipes, hose cabinets inside, which we never use, but we'll rip those off and hook to them.
I would think that a breezeway could be advantageous and disadvantage, because once you open the door, if there's that ocean breeze, you got wind right in. But it's not like you have an enclosed.
You're not getting the shit kicked in the hallway.
that you bank down
Yeah.
and right, you know, so
you're not getting buried to the floor, you know, in an
Right.
interior hallway.
right. It
And that
giveth
was
and it
no-
taketh away.
You know, and you know, you get an apartment building with an interior hallway. You know, the one thing that we were always, you know, trying to impress is, you know, pick which one you want to jump into when this shit goes bad. You know, don't be afraid to blow a door and go into somebody's apartment
Yeah,
building.
oh yeah. No.
Well, that was one of our SOPs.
that was
That's
our
an SOP.
Yeah,
Take another door before you take the
Opposite,
apartment
right.
door. If it's really good, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cap, did you, if you remember, did you have, like for us, sometimes it's a little bit of a balance. Like if we have a long stretch through something like that, if it's on the first floor, even though it's a standpipe building, maybe we'll still stretch to the first floor, let's say,
From
as
the rig.
opposed- or second floor, right, from the rig, as opposed to taking roll-ups in or something like that. Do you remember
Yeah,
doing
because
that?
you never know who's tampered with the standpipe system, who's, you know, shoved, you know, trash in it, or even at the street level where your engineer, your chauffeur's gonna hook up to the, you know, to pump the standpipe. That thing would be clogged, you know. So yeah, we'd always make sure that we've got a live line coming off the engine that wasn't committed to the standpipe system.
How many stories were those generally? Do you remember?
Well, for me, you know, like I say, I think my tallest in the city was 12 stories.
Oh, so yeah, you guys are
Yeah.
doing that. Yeah.
You know, I mean, nothing like what you guys are.
Oh, 12 is
Yeah.
Well, there's more than that one.
Yeah.
I never had a job in it.
on the beach.
Yeah.
Screw that.
Yeah,
shit.
we had those buildings with the breezeways in 288, right across from Left Rack on the other side of the LIE. We had a bunch of those with the open hallways.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I ever caught a job there. Did you ever catch a job there?
I never caught a job.
I didn't.
No, you know what? I never caught a job there either.
I think they did, but I don't think I was working.
So to me, with a multiple dwelling, I mean, there's a million things you can talk about. Life hazard is the most dangerous as far as occupants, because you got
Right.
numerous, you know,
Right.
apartments. But I think on the firefighting aspect, to me, is the floor above, because if there's an open stairway, if we're talking about a frame, a tenement, or even an apartment building that's not a fireproof apartment building, you know, how many times has the engine had a problem? Maybe they lost water or something, and now you got fire. It's going to take the path of least resistance, which is that stairway. And
Right.
if you're on the floor above and you have no refuge, you're going to end up getting barbecued up there.
Yeah.
As we know what happened on Watts Street and other fires. But so that's that. So going above you is it can be a hairy situation.
Precarious.
Back in the day, the building that was the most fun to go to a fire in was a vacant 6-story new law tenement. They had the big stairwells. A lot of times they were Mongo, they were broken up, but you go to a fire and there was something for everybody to do. First do, second do. You know, they were fun. You went to them, it was like, okay. You know, I mean, there was always the danger of things going wrong, stairwells collapse and stuff like that. But you just had fun going to these fires, and you learned your trade. You had the time to fine tune learning how to take doors off to protect your egress if things were going bad. You had time to fine tune getting to the floor above. You had time to learn how to get to the roof and learn how to be safe on the roof, which was especially important, is learning how to be safe on the roof. There's so many things that can go on the roof, especially back in the day. You're up there by yourself still, you know, truck company operations in the city. You go to a fire in a non-fireproof multiple dwelling. The first roofman is up there by himself, and it's easy to get jammed up. It's easy to get hurt.
Okay.
So it's good to have fires where you can learn your trade and not be under the impetus of a life hazard.
Right.
You know,
that's why we were lucky, Ray, because we were in those areas, and for every 2 vacants, then we had an occupied. But you got to learn your trade very fast, because, like you say, the vacants was a great training ground. Because once it was all knocked down, then it became a drill. You know, your officer had you, your senior men had you, and you discussed how did you get to the roof, the best way to get to the roof. Did you find the shafts? How are we forcing this door? Or maybe we're going to go find the door to force. And that was, like you said, it was fun because we were learning, and you were getting good at your trade.
And we were young and we had a lot of energy.
Right. And unfortunately, I mean, I guess it's fortunate for the city and the cities that they're not burning down anymore. But unfortunately, the guys nowadays, they're just as good as we are or were, but they don't have the experience because they don't have the amount of fires.
I think that we had the advantage because we got to learn in these vacant buildings. Now these guys are getting thrust into their cannon fodder because of the lithium battery fires and the amount of fires that are going on and how quickly the conditions change with these lithium battery fires. I think that they're going through a learning curve now that we didn't go through.
Yeah.
I think they're under the gun, and I think they're in harm's way a lot.
I don't think
I was just going to say, Cap, go ahead. Do you guys have that happening out by you too?
Yeah, but I don't think people are really realizing that there can be a hazard,
Yeah.
Like Ray was saying about his bicycle, that's lithium, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a lithium, but it's UL listed, it's CE listed.
Is that the one you bought for your wife?
No, my wife bought for me. I bought another snow shovel.
Cap, is it? Are you hearing? You guys hear a lot of that? I mean, we hear it every day in the city here. But do you hear that happening out there, like in California, a lot? Like fires.
I'm not in the game anymore, but
Right.
I had a few of them, battery fires that started in the garage. I had a good one that took down a 2-story house that started because the guy had the radio controlled cars, little radio controlled cars, and he had a whole bank of batteries plugged in.
Oh shit!
And it started the workbench, and next thing you know,
swinging a miss, he struck him out.
Yeah.
288 had a first do job the other day with a lithium ion battery.
Oh, that was lithium, huh?
Yeah.
I don't want to say, but they might have had 4 jobs in like 5
Yeah,
hours.
they've been busy as one on.
I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it. I don't want to
That's
say
the
it.
door on fire.
Yes, you.
Yeah.
I imagine we could see more of them now because almost every kid in school is on one.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm sure
My kids want one. I told them negative.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Nope.
the high school near my house, that you'd think it's motocross season during lunch hour. They're all
Crazy,
coming out of school with these
Forget about if
things.
you're driving around in Queens, man. You must get hit everywhere you go, bro. Somebody's on the scooter, somebody's on the bike.
So I can see these kids plugging them in the garage and having one.
No doubt.
Yahoo.
I mean, I've been telling my buddies in the Carolinas and down here that are firefighters, it's, coming to a building near you. It's just, it's happening. If it's happening in New York, because obviously with the zillion people that live there,
Right.
And they use it for transportation. It's just a matter of time. It's going to filter down. You may not be getting 5 a day, but you're going to start getting.
You're going to see them. Yeah.
And in the immortal words of Mike Barone, right, Ruffy? You know what a sprinkler's going to do for that?
Un God.
Nothing. All right, guys. Hit us with the next one. It's getting late.
All right, it's getting late, but this one actually Hank touched on it a little bit, so this will be the last tactical
things to consider before moving to the floor above.
Yeah,
Let's talk with the Cap. Is that a comment that you guys like? Would you guys? I heard you say something about the truck before. Would the guys go in before the line? Would they wait for the line? Like how would you guys operate generally if you were?
Well, we're going to go in primarily just for search and rescue, and then the first due engine is going to get in attack lines and pretty much protect us. The second due in engine should be going to the second floor, to do an assessment and evacuation and rescue if needed. That was our kind of standard operating procedure. If we had a multi-story, is that you get to the floor above and see what you've got and let the chief know what we've got if we've got extension, if we've got people trapped. But getting to the floor above right away was pretty important out here.
Yeah.
There was especially the older tenements. There was a lot that could go wrong fast. Transom windows, every apartment had transom windows into the hallway, and if those transom windows failed, the fire came right out and went right up the stairs. So going to the floor above, being the second due truck, being in the squad, excuse me, the first thing you look at is, do they have water in the line?
Mm-hmm.
That was the most important thing before you made a move. But sometimes you couldn't wait. You would just have to say, "Yeah,
I'm
we're
going up.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going." But you tell
Somebody.
That's
somebody,
the key.
Well, yeah.
control
That's
man,
the key.
hey, we're going.
Fuck
You know,
face.
so
And then,
the shit hits
you've got to
the
be
fan.
thinking. You got to be thinking about their escape route. You know.
Well, you'd want somebody that, but I'd always tell the first due engine officer, I said, "Hey, we're going. So if you ain't going, tell me you're not going."
Yeah. Your ears better be burned off if I got fire
Right.
coming up my ass.
Yeah, you better be going to the burn unit.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you're going with a broken jaw.
You go to the broken jaw unit.
Either way, you're gonna.
Yeah, either way, you're going to be in the hospital.
Yeah.
Listen, yeah, that was kind of like, that was without saying back in the day. If that engine was there moving, and you were going to the floor above, the officer would tell that officer, "We're going above." He'd give you the nod, and that's all you needed. You were telling him, "I'm dependent on you. My ass and my guys are dependent on you to hold the fire or push it out. If something starts going wrong, get on the radio, let us know immediately, and you're not bailing out until you know we're clear and off of that floor above."
Right.
That's how
right.
that's how it's supposed to be.
Should be. Yeah.
Things go bad so quickly, and the fog of war, things happen. Companies lose water, something happens, a burst line, whatever it is. You can be stuck on the floor above. It happened to me once, and the captain said, "We're going to jump out this window," and I was like, "This is going to hurt."
Mm.
So I really think that one of the things that we've learned since then, back in the 80s, that we should be more alert to second means of egress, breaching walls to get to another fire escape, to get to another building.
Right.
I really think that you
Or
really
another
have to
room.
be 2 or 3 steps, think it 2 or 3 steps ahead of, and being aware of what can go wrong, so that you can be proactive when the shit hits the fan, which is going to do Murphy's Law, right? Murphy
Right,
writes back
right.
step. Things are going to go wrong, and they're going to go wrong at the worst possible moment. I think you really have to count on your training, your experience, and your just awareness to say, I've heard this before, and that's the whole point of training, and the whole point of beating things to death is that you ingrain that muscle memory to say, I have other options than to jump out a window.
Well, and don't you really kind of hope that your incident commanders is kind of got you in his mind?
He ain't on the
saying,
fire floor.
no, but I'm
He's down
saying
in the
that
street.
he's the one that's saying, we've got guys going to the floor above.
I think things happen faster than they're involved.
Yeah.
Especially for the first and second due companies. I think that they can be aware of it, but I think their impact is minimal. I think it's really up to the individual people that are on the floor above. The guys that are making the move have to be really aware.
Yeah,
And I
plus
think
the
that the
incident
guys
commander, he's not seen it firsthand. He's
No,
not
he's
seeing what's
hearing it.
going on in there.
Yeah.
He's hearing it from whatever you're telling him.
The only
You know,
time
when
you're
you-
going to see a chief on the interior is if it goes to like an all hands extra engine and truck or something, and the deputy shows up, then he's taking the street. Now the battalion's going to go inside. But
Well, I think they
like-
assign now. Don't they assign a 5-floor chief now, Roofy? Or something
They
like
do.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
so
that's
they-
like, again, like that's not when the shit's going wrong within the first 10 minutes of arrival.
Yeah.
That the fire floor chief isn't there yet. The incident commander's still out in the street. The aide might be checking out the rear, but things are happening. The wheels are spinning, and it's beyond the incident commander. It's up to the company commanders and the guys, the senior people and the experienced people that are on the fire floors and the floor above to be aware and to keep everybody safe. It's
Right.
you want to say, it's the Chiefs. It's not the Chiefs. It's you. It's you on the fire floor. It's where the rubber
And-
meets the road.
And right now we're mostly talking about like a multiple dwelling, interior stairs like that. But like we said, a majority of the fires are private dwellings. So my take on the private dwelling is, if you got fire, say on the first floor, you got, more than a mattress going, you got a pretty good job on the first floor. You're going to have a truck working with the engine, but generally your life hazard, if it's in the middle of the night, your bedrooms are on the second floor. We got to get up there and make a search. So it's got to be a two-pronged attack. There's got to be another line that's going to be trying to get up the stairs.
Right.
And then the truck could move in with that. But while this is going on, the truck should really, your first floor is an interior, from the interior. But on a PD, to me, you're going to get your ground ladders, get to the rear, and you can use the ladders to vent, pop up quick, make a quick search. If the door is open, you can close the door. Then you can go back down that ladder, roll it, get to the next window, and that's so you can make a search, and you have your means of egress. The other thing is, if it's in maybe a sketchy area, you might get to the rear and find bars on the window. That you got to immediately let guys know if there's bars there, because that's going to affect them going up to that second floor, because things can go bad real fast with that open unenclosed stairway in a private dwelling, and it's not a lot of building there. So that's where the guys on the outside got stuck getting those bars right away, and so that's just food for thought.
Right. Yeah.
Anybody else got anything else before we move on? Gonzopotamus, you got anything?
Here you go. No, I'm good. I'm going to bring you up the next question.
All right.
To study or to not study? Not to study, excuse me. That is the question. Remain a fireman or become an officer?
Oh, that's a tough one.
I got promoted. I had 22 years on the job. Or 23 years. They gave an easy test after 9/11, and I passed it. I did study for it, though. It did change my career. It lengthened my career. I'm glad it happened. But I think it has to be, there's so many things that goes on. If you're going to make I think if you're going to make it a career and try to stay more than 20 years, I think getting promoted helps you do that. It lessens the load that you have to carry. It makes it from more physical to make it more cerebral. I just went up to one rank. I went from firefighter to lieutenant. To go up further, like up the rank to chief and everything like that. I think it's necessary to do. I think that it's great that when experienced guys do that, it's more an individual choice. If you have a good side gig, stay a fireman. Enjoy the back step. Enjoy of being at the point of impact.
Cap.
Cap.
It took me 29 years to make the move.
Wow, he's a slow roller.
No,
29 years.
I mean, being on the rescue out here, you're your own boss. I'm leaving the house 10, 12, 13 times a day on calls, and I'm making the decision. The patient is mine. If a structure fire comes in and I'm at the hospital, I go available and I put on my turnouts and I roll to the structure fire, and then I'm under the auspices of the captain, but I just enjoyed being doing my own thing. There wasn't, the fire chief can't tell me what to do with my patient. That's my patient.
Right.
And I just loved it. I like giving patient care. We were, the rescues are a lot busier than the engine companies, and I didn't like sitting around the firehouse waiting for something. So it just played into my game. At about the 29th year, when I took the test, I had back surgery in 1997, and it was just getting to the point where humping hose up a Malibu hill, for me in the future was just getting to be too much. And there was an opening for deputy fire marshal. And you had to be at least the rank of captain. And I had the years of experience doing fire investigations as a shift investigator. And so I made a run for it and picked up a desk job for my last 3 years.
Rest is history.
Yeah. But it's
like racing, it's extended your career.
Yeah, it did, and of course, my youngest son was still in high school, and I wanted to, kind of see him get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important. I go back. I just went to a retirement dinner. We do an annual retirement dinner, and it was on the first Saturday in March. And I'm meeting a lot of new people that I've never met before in the department, and they're wearing 2 bugles, and they got 5 years on the job, and I'm like, it's kind of frightening because I know that we don't have that many working fires anymore to be able to pass on the experience.
Right.
I've been on some spongy roofs. I've like I say, when I came on, we were wearing a turnout coat, a helmet that was plastic, and the air pack was in a suitcase on the one of the compartments. And the only time we'd wear an air pack was if there's some hazmat or something, and I just look at some of these guys and I'm like, oh my God, it's quite a responsibility to have these guys when you haven't even, experienced it.
Louis, how many years did you have on when you got promoted?
10.
Were you comfortable?
I wasn't comfortable. It probably took me about 2 years before, 2 to 3 years before I felt like I could get any run, and I would feel, because the guys do the work, right? So I'm just along for the ride. But as far as where I had to make decisions, I would say probably about 2 years before I really felt comfortable where I could get any scenario somewhat, and I would be able to without being nervous about what I was, or having the guys trust me or any of that stuff.
Would you do it again if you go back? Would you take the test again?
You know what? I was when if Gonzo puts that thing up, I don't want to be like a cop out, like a cheesy answer, but and I'm sure Hank will say this is the Captain Coward when he was my captain, he became my chief. He said if you're not studying, you're missing out, right? Mm-hmm. I think he meant not moving up. Like you don't have to be a lieutenant to study, right? You don't have to study to be an officer. I mean, back then, and Hank would say this, those things were like the Bible, right? Mm-hmm. When those things came out, that was the fucking Bible, man.
A lot of bulletins. Right? There was gospel. You
right.
Took that
so you had to read it, and again, I'm sure Hank would say this. All the guys knew exactly where they were going every time, every position, because they guys read that. They didn't have to be. You didn't have to do it to be an officer. And now guys have other stuff to, there's so much other information out there to listen to, guys like these guys and, go to shows. You could go to a class. I think the captain said, he was teaching guys. So you can go and get a lot of information, but if you're not studying, you're missing out. And that's kind of, I always felt like that was good information that he gave me.
But would you prefer to be a fireman, or would you go still be an officer?
And it gets back to, I was still getting on and off the rig all the time. It's a lot. And, the chief, if you get the chief, you definitely can extend your career. Especially in the FDNY. There's no doubt. Because
I'm glad I got promoted because I got tired of those 5 years guys that worked nowhere. That we're going to pretend to be a boss. I was like,
the thing
you've
that
never been anywhere, and you're going to talk to me. I said,
I watched this job change, from the 70s to 2011, and I tell people, I go, when the paramedic program out here in California started, they didn't go out and hire paramedics. They trained the firemen to be paramedics. And then all of a sudden, they come up with this new thing called hazmat. Well, they didn't go hire chemists. They trained firemen to be hazmat specialists, and same thing with, USAR and all of the other little jobs that we do. It's not like we hire more people to take on that job. We take on the responsibility. So we're constantly in the classroom. We're constantly, having to better ourselves for the community. And people don't realize, that, you're making X amount of dollars based on your contract. And a year later, you're under the same contract, but you're doing a completely,
new resume
added job uncompensated.
Shoveling snow.
that was one of my big things as a union boss was that, hey, wait, we got to figure something out here.
I gotta get a little of this. I got a little something for my worries.
Yeah, but I mean that's one thing about this career field that I always found fascinating, and of course the same with law enforcement. They want, they don't. You're not just a motor officer. You're a policeman. You go to motor school. You're a SWAT officer. You're a detective. And this is one of these blue collar jobs that we keep educating ourselves and doing more and more with. Really, if you look at the application, it says minimum high school education. So yeah, constantly being in the books and constantly educating yourself, I think, is what allows us to sit here years later as a retiree that we're not somewhere else.
How about you, Hanky?
I'm pretty much the only, besides you, I'm the only dope here because I stayed.
Listen, I had a good Saturday, man. They asked the right questions. You're smarter than me.
Right?
You would have passed that test if you were on foot. It was a position test, Hank. You would have passed.
The job was smart in giving that kind of test after 9/11.
I agree.
Because you know what? That's for me. That was one of the turnoffs of studying. Well, first off, I just in the beginning, I just loved. I was like, bright-eyed that I was a New York City firefighter. I had aspired, when I joined the Volleys and decided I wanted to be a firefighter. Now I made it to the big time, and where I was working was great. And we always had a second job. You needed to make more money, like Bob was saying. We loved what we did, and but you needed more money, especially living in the New York area. Living on Long Island, you got a regular blue collar house, and you're paying $14,000 a year in property taxes on top of
Hank, how many hours a week did you work between your jobs? You worked 80 hours a week at least.
At least, without a doubt, without a doubt. And then later on, when we both, that was the only job I actually studied and got paid. It was the civil service when we took for the Nassau County to become chiefs at the fire academy. I passed that test and became a chief at the fire academy. But that was to make more money, per day. I'm teaching the volunteers. But I also ended up. I loved that job. It was great. But that was
a great job.
Like they say, I'm a Jamaican. I got 14 job, man. That's.
What you mean you got one job, man? I got 37 jobs.
Blood clot, only one job.
You had your fire. You were a firefighter. You were generally doing construction or something on the side, painting, banging nails, stripping roofs, and then from March to November, whatever nights I was available, I was out at the Nassau County Fire Academy teaching. So you always had, you had a lot of balls in the air. Yeah. I never, when I used to see the guys come back in the day, there wasn't all things on discs and everything. You had to go to this guy Morris Hideaway, and you paid like $100. And you'd walk out of there with 2 milk cartons full of
a stack of books like this.
Guys would come into the firehouse that were students, and they'd go to their car twice and come out with these milk cartons of everything you had to study. You maybe had to study 150, all unit circulars to maybe find 2 that they were going to ask you about on the test. And then you had to read every WNYF, and maybe they would ask 2 questions out of that. And then there was the regs, and it just. I just didn't have the patience for that, but I was a student of my job. I learned everything that I could, about the job. And, and I mean, it may sound cocky, but I mean, you know what? I could go to a job today and I could run that job. I mean, maybe that sounds cocky, but I know I could. I may not know how many Christmas trees you could have in Macy's window at Christmas time, but if it came down to firefighting and or emergencies, whether it was high angle rope or confined space or rescue diving, I got it. I got it covered. So I enjoyed being a firefighter my whole career. Hindsight being 2020, I probably said, like Ray did later on, I probably should have studied because, and it's strictly for the financial part of it, because my pension's 20 years old now as a fireman, and it definitely doesn't go as far as it used to. Whereas if I had, I mean, you got to remember, I was in SOC for 15 years between Rescue 1 and Squad. We didn't get an extra penny for doing it then. So even, after 9/11, unfortunately, I mean, I'm fortunate I'm still here, but some 9/11 issues put me out of the job. So,
hey guys, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm old, okay?
Oh, yeah, do it.
I'll be right
Just
back.
did.
Go
Okay.
right ahead.
Listen, I got the over 60 prostate. I had to jump.
I mean, I have no regrets. Like I said, I love being a fireman, and and I think I was good at it, and I like even now to be able to pass any knowledge on that I have, because I think the young guys need to hear it from us.
I mean, I think Hank, that leads you right to the question we were talking about. I don't know if you're going to cover it, but the point of being a senior man. You were the senior guy in 288, and it wasn't because you walked in and you said, "I'm the senior guy." You're the senior guy because everybody looked up to you as the senior guy. If you have to say I'm the senior guy, you're not the senior guy. But you went in with all the experience that you had from everything you did, and you made the company better. And I know it was better because you were gone by the time I got there. But they still talked about what you taught them and what they learned from you. So the senior guy, the senior man, the senior person, if we're going to be PC, is really important. And it's really important that it's somebody from within and somebody that everybody looks up to and says, he's our guy.
Mm-hmm. You don't make yourself the senior man. They make you the senior man.
You don't. It's like picking your own nickname,
Yeah.
You can't pick your own nickname. Somebody else has to give it to you.
Yeah.
You want to be a senior man? Somebody else says you
pick your own boy.
But you know what? I embraced that job. I mean, to me, that was an awesome responsibility, and I thank Captain Murphy for taking me as his senior guy and telling me, you're going to have a lot to do with forming the personality of this company. So, when people ask me today, that was one of the highlights of my career, was being able to be the senior man in a company, a brand new company starting as a squad, having all the young guys like, Louie and Kevin, because the guys that were there wanted to be there. They weren't like put there. They all tried out. They wanted to be there, and they just wanted to learn. So, for me, it was great because I had learned from guys better than me. I had all this experience, and it was like, okay, now I can give back. I can let my experience be worth something. And and it's nice to hear that the guys. And look, the fact that I stayed after all these years, I still Kevin and I talk all the time. Me and Louie and talk. That you still have the bond that you did with the guys. 20 years later, I'm still friendly with these guys, and we still talk.
I still talk to my senior guys from 108. I mean, it's.
I thought they'd all be dead by now, bro.
Listen, they're all Vietnam vets, and some are dead. It's funny. What's
the matter with you?
I looked up a guy I know that passed away,
old,
and he was 63 when he died.
Oh, that's too young, bro.
A Vietnam vet, Sergeant Vietnam, the whole 9 yards, Ladderback, NASCO, rest his soul. But they were treasures. These guys were treasure troves of knowledge and experience, and not just being firemen. Like this guy was a sergeant in Vietnam. He said these lieutenants are chicken shit. He used to call chief stage rear echelon, pencil pushing, clipboard carrying, non-combatant. Blah blah blah. But these guys would they taught you more than just being a fireman. They taught you how to get through what's important and what's not important.
I wanted to talk about that with the captain because we didn't get a chance to really talk to him because we were going through the questions, but I wanted to ask him the whole time. I'm like, Cap, who were some of the guys that you remember, like when you first started in 71? Like, who were the guys that you latched onto? Was it a boss? Was it a senior guy? Like, who do you feel like was your mentor?
No, I was still riding tailboard. It was the guys that were on the back step with me. I mean, I think the nice thing about a smaller department is, and I don't know how much you guys move around, from Brooklyn to Queens or one house to the other. When you're in a 70-man department, believe me, we've met. and
it's almost incestuous.
Yeah, I had a captain that I carried one of his traditions into my promotion, and that was everybody on my crew knew that I wanted your constructive input. If you see something, I want to know it. I'll make the final decision, but don't not speak up.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. That's great.
And so, there's a lot of cohesiveness, with the crews. There wasn't a lot of one guy being against another. We all got along. It's like we knew, this guy didn't like hot dogs, and of course, like they say,
hot dogs. Yeah.
There's hot dogs in your helmet. They're in your boot. They're in your bed. That's gone. That's completely gone, which I think really built, that camaraderie and brotherhood.
Mm-hmm.
As we say, the ball busting. Boy, you can't say anything out of line now. It just isn't done.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, it really it made you want to go to work. You didn't want to miss a day.
And it made you know who couldn't take it.
Yeah. But I mean, their knees got skinned up, but they got calluses on them, and they got a little tougher too. They found out that this is part of the game.
Full contact sport.
Yeah, and the one thing, the one thing that the one thing that I can say about my older days, because of how we used to fight fire, I don't think there was a single guy back then on the department that I even suspected wouldn't come get me if I needed it. That they'd be risking their life to come pull you out. I don't know. Things were changing as I went through my career. I don't know just what loyalty and camaraderie they have in the house anymore.
Right.
I don't think that was a question in my time on the job. I don't think it was like in our time frame. I don't think there was. I think that things have changed now and not for the better. But that's something we can change. It's we're yesterday's news.
Yep.
Right.
I tell people I'm glad I served when I did.
Yep.
I think I had what I would call the golden years. I some of the guys that I worked with were Vietnam vets, and I mean Vietnam. They did time in country. I was fortunate enough that I didn't have to go. I ended up in Germany, but they were hardened. They were hardened from being in Vietnam, and I don't know. I learned a lot from, like I said to my students at the academy. Listen to your senior guys, and the guys on the back step with me, holding on to the rail. That's who I listen to.
Back step. Best time was in the world was riding the back step, right?
Oh my God. Yeah.
And then when you're out, I don't know. Yeah, I still miss it to this day. As one of my buddies says, I even miss the guys I didn't like.
That's good. That's good. I like that one.
I miss picking on them though, but I don't miss
fucking great. I like that one. That's good.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, well, Gons, how many questions are left? How many topics are left?
Well, we had 3, but you basically touched on the senior man, so we were down to 2. If you want to touch on them, it was the functions outside the firehouse.
No, just do the other one. Just show the other one. That'll be our last one.
Okay, here it comes. Come on up. Wait, let's see a little delay. And there it is. How do you know when it's time
to jump in on that?
Fire? Which one?
I wanted to jump in on that one. I remember there was a time in the mid to late 80s where we were going to a lot of fatal fires and a lot of EMS runs, shooting, stabbings. This was way before we did EMS, but somebody pulled the alarm box, so we'd be there, shooting, stabbings, whatever it was. And I was thinking, for a while, I said I was really tired of seeing dead people. And I was thinking, I need to get out of here. And I got a winter vacation. And I said, thank God. I said, I'm going to be out of the firehouse for half a vacation. And I needed to be away from there. I was tired of seeing, like I said, I was tired of doing CPR. I was tired of seeing guys shot. I was tired of doing overdoses. Sometimes you just have to say, it's time for me to just walk away for a little while. And I think that it's good for everybody to say, I need a break. And especially now looking back after what we've learned over the 40 years that have transpired between then and now, for me, you look at 9/11 and PTSD. Nobody talked about PTSD back in the 80s. No. Now I think that everybody should address it because it affects more than you. It affects more than you in the firehouse. It affects you and your family and your personal health. And I think that anything that we can do to collect our pension as long as possible is what we should do. And that's what I had to say.
All right. Well, I'm going to say this job, I've never seen a job that actually penetrates the rest of your life more than this job. Like it's another family, it's another family your wife has to deal with. It's an entire another family that you have to, and you think you're always missing out on something. When I would be on vacation, I would call the firehouse all the time. Hey, what's going on? Did I miss anything? I remember calling the firehouse when I was on my honeymoon in Hawaii. What's going on? Now, dude, when you're in the moment with your family, stay in the moment with your family. The firehouse is going to be there when you get back.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can remember is when I came back, we had a dinner dance while I was gone, and it was a poor turnout. And I walked in my first day coming back after my honeymoon, and Hank and Ronnie Geese are in the house watch. And I walk in, I go, "What's up, guys?" And they go, "Well, where the fuck were you for the dinner dance?" I go, "I was in Hawaii on my honeymoon." "That's not an excuse. Get the fuck out of here."
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's exactly. Yeah.
But if you're away from the firehouse, concentrate on your wife and kids and whatever the hell else you're doing. The firehouse is going to be there when you get back.
Yeah.
Anybody else got anything?
No, it's
I don't know. Go ahead.
No, it's all you. I'm just listening.
The other thing is I call it my silent PTSD. A lot of people have PTSD that becomes, kind of a life, really affects their life. I don't have a PTSD that ceases me to function, but what I think Ray kind of said a little bit that kind of brought this to my mind is, we'll invite somebody over for a barbecue, and we'll say, we're going to start around 4:00, and they come wandering in about 4:45, and they say, "Hey, we'd have been here sooner, but there was a really bad motorcycle wreck on the freeway." My file cabinet opens up, and I see 50 motorcycle wrecks that I've been on, and it doesn't keep me from barbecuing. But it's like, boy, oh yeah, I remember that one, and I'm talking to myself, and it just never goes away. And you close the drawer really quick, because you're moving on. But somehow I don't think the bank president has that because somebody bounced a check.
Yeah.
And it's something that we all carry. It's something we've all seen. You have to learn to deal with it. And I tell people sometimes with this sick firehouse humor that we have, that's how we deal with it. Because if we sat and really let it, get immersed in us, we'd be off the job after 2 years,
Those bad things lurk. They're right here. They're on your shoulder all the time.
Yeah.
And you have to keep them there.
Yeah, and sometimes
I think time away from the firehouse is good for that, especially if you can immerse yourself in the good things, the family, the stuff that you do, your hobbies, the things that aren't the bad memories.
Yeah,
make the good memories. So like Kevin, you have your kids, they're young. It's like the best time of your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's like a buddy of ours, Ray, says, sometimes you need a checkup from the neck up,
Mm-hmm.
and not be afraid to do it.
Right.
True.
Bourbon helps.
I think
one of these.
I think the psychological term for what you guys are talking about is, as firefighters, we compartmentalize those things, and we're able to put it, like you said, in the file cabinet. But all it takes is somebody saying something or seeing something on TV or whatever, and it never goes away. I'm sure we all have fires and incidents we've been at and seen things that people shouldn't have to see, but we did because of our profession. And no matter, you can't make your brain say that I'm never going to think of that. They're always there. And I guess when it gets to that point where if it's affecting your life, then it's like the PTSD where you, like Cap, you called it the silent. That's when it's not silent. But I think all of us feel that put it with the silent PTSD, and that we're to the day we die, we're going to carry certain things in our head that affect us at certain times. And like all of us that have been through 9/11, we don't let that consume us, but there are things, there's probably not a day that goes by that we don't at some point think about somebody that, we worked with, that we lost, or something reminded us of that.
Right.
And then when 9/11 starts coming around and you start seeing the things on TV, and you see
it funnels it.
Right. And then your mind starts racing a little bit, and you have to learn to try to control that, or as they've talked about on numerous previous podcasts,
drink heavily,
go for help. I mean, I think at some point
drink.
We've all gone to some type of counseling since 9/11, and you don't have to go every week, but you can go for tune-ups. Maybe twice a year. You might just have to use what's ever available to you, and just talk things out. And sometimes that just helps.
For sure.
And sometimes just grabbing a buddy and talking, and getting it off your mind sometimes, helps. And
somebody that's been down the same road.
Yeah. But and also, when you're a boss, are you noticing somebody, picking up on the fact that, this guy now used to come to work at 7:30. Now he's showing up 2 minutes before roll call, and, his behavior is not what I've always known. Do you address it, or do you just go, hey, that's not what I get paid for,
Watch Street fires next week, actually, the memorial.
Say that again, Luke.
The Watch Street
fire. 3 guys died. Terrible fire.
Henry was there. Senior dude was there.
Guys who were roasted in a floor above.
Yep. All right. Yeah.
Well, boys, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, we got to play 2 commercials because we would be remiss. So let's get to that really quick, Gons.
Yes, sir. Let's hear from Armor Tough.
Armor Tough interlocking floor tiles are the best choice to replace new or aging, stained, cracked concrete, or epoxy floors, and here's why. Armor Tough tiles comes with a lifetime, yes, you heard that correctly, lifetime warranty, and are usually installed in just 1 or 2 days, depending on the size of your station, with virtually no disruption in the operation of your station. Armor Tough interlocking tiles are guaranteed from the following: chipping, cracking, peeling, breaking, or staining. And once installed, the tiles are non-skid and non-slip. And they also meet the ADA standards for the friction coefficient, which you always love. The tiles are stain resistant and impervious to any chemicals or volatiles that we commonly see used in the fire service. And once installed, you can clean your floor the standard way, the old school way, with just soap and water. Install an Armor Tough tile in your apparatus bays, your offices, training rooms, workshops, exercise rooms, kitchens, banquet halls, or any other room. Yes, any other room in your station. Call Vince today for a no-obligation quote at 908-917-7697. Why install a breakable epoxy floor that you're going to have to replace in 5 to 10 years when you could have a floor that will last a lifetime? Drop a Halligan in an Armor Tough floor, you won't see any damage to it. However, you can't say the same about concrete or, of course, epoxy too. Join the hundreds, yes, hundreds of career and volunteer fire departments nationwide who have chosen an Armor Tough interlocking tile floor. Armor Tough interlocking tiles are half the price of epoxy and will last a lifetime without issue. Again, call Vince today for a no obligation. Yes, you heard that correctly. No obligation quote at 908-917-7697.
Excellent. And if you go out to Indy, see Vince at booth 1904 and tell him the salty guy sent you. He'll give you something free. Free. Me and Ruffy will be out there too. I think Ray will be out there too. And
I'm going to have to pull the pin.
I thought you were going.
I thought I was too, but my PT got put off till at least the middle of the month. So
all right. But Ruffy and I will be there. We're going to do it. We're doing a raffle, by the way. If the boys from One Source are sending us, I think, a hook, a gear bag, and some other stuff. So stop by the booth and grab a raffle. And the last day, we'll raffle it off. And one last thing, Gonzo, we got to play the
First responder health and safety tip.
Health and safety tip.
Yes, sir. Stand by.
Last one.
The First Responders Center for Excellence is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to protecting the lives and livelihoods of first responders. Their education and research initiatives aim to bring greater awareness and understanding to the challenges to the health, safety, and well-being of firefighters, EMS personnel, and other first responders, too. They are an affiliate of the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation.
Excellent. And tonight's health and safety tip is annual medicals save firefighters' lives. So make an appointment today. Ray, you were saying that the goal is to collect your pension as long as you can. And Hank and I know somebody personal who went to one of these medicals and they found what? They found a softball-sized tumor on his kidneys, right? And he had it taken out and he's doing very well today. So get that stuff looked at, make an appointment. Don't be complacent. Collect your pension for at least 50 friggin' years. So it's worth about $1.98 by the time you die. But anyway.
You'll be on food stamps, but you'll be alive.
You'll be alive barely.
Yeah.
Great advice, Coops.
Can you spare a couple?
I'll have a lot of dog food recipes for you guys.
Can you spare some change? All right. So Monday we got Frank Liebon. He's going to tell the fire stories that he had all in 1 year. Probably more fires than some guys went to there in their career. He had the roof rope rescue. He had that fire up in where was it? The Bronx, Ruffy?
Bronx, right? There multiple fatalities, right?
Good stuff. Yep. And then Thursday we have the lady with the pictures, Jill Friedman's cousin, with a whole bunch of guys from 31 Truck from the 1960s. They're coming on. One of them is going to be in the Oval Office with Ruffy. One guy will be sitting in there. Ruffy's gonna have to keep him awake because he's fairly old, so we'll see what happens with that.
Ruffy, put the coffee on, brother.
Put the coffee on, bro. Don't let him get scared by all the heads in there either. He might get frightened.
I might have to go, so I might have to rearrange. We'll figure it out.
All right.
Hey, Coobs, we got to show Lou the new outro, unless you don't want to do it tonight.
What outro? Oh yeah, the outro. Yes, absolutely. I want to thank Bob Frank or Frank Bob, however you want to say it, for coming on. I want to say
Bob, thank you very much.
Bob,
thank you for the invite. I enjoyed it immensely.
You did well, and we'll be knocking on your door in Huntington Beach, California, real soon. Me and Ruffy. So thank you.
We got the avoidance center right out back.
I love it. Yeah. Thank you for Ray and Senior Dude coming on. I'm sure you'll see him again. Hank's lip syncing right now, but okay, do the thing, Gonzo.
All right. Stand by.
Well, thank you first and foremost for tuning in to another episode of the Getting Salty Experience. Think we're out of good content? Ha! Far from it. If you want to find us on the audio side, you can do so on all the players. We're available on, yes, I said that correctly, all the players. Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. That's where we are. And if you're here tonight, congratulations. You found us on the Getting Salty Experience, which if you're not already subscribed, please do so. It's free, cost you nothing. You can also like and share, which also costs you nothing and helps us grow the audience of the show. You can also find us on social media if you so please. Of course, we're on Instagram where Lou posts great FDNY content from yesteryear. We're also on TikTok. Tag him as Prime is on top of that. And we're also on LinkedIn too, where yours truly, Mike McBob Cologne, is on top of things on that front. Head on over to gettingsaltyapparel.com, by the way, for all kinds of great merchandise, apparel, and accessories. There is the super chat too. We thank each and every one of you for your support. You can open up your wallet and donate a amount of your choosing during the program. After all, you guys, yes, you guys are our number one sponsors. Super thanks as well. If you missed the show live, you can show support through that means. If you still wish to open up your wallet, the super thanks is basically a thank you after the fact for another great episode of ours. The Facebook fan page is in existence too, now over 60,000 strong and continuing to grow. It's not created by us at the Getting Salty Experience, but it is nevertheless a great way to connect with firefighters from all over and fans of the show alike. If you want to advertise with the Getting Salty Experience, send your information on over to gettingsaltyads@gmail.com. And if you have any questions or have a guest suggestion, please send them to gettingsaltyexperience@gmail.com with the necessary contact information. And finally, if you have content for anything else, please send them to koobspodcast@gmail.com. Of course, that's Kevin Kubler's secondary email. And that's where you could send things like rig photos, firehouse kitchen tables, fire videos, helmet cam videos, tattoos, mustache photos, and yes, photos for the unofficial Hot Old Ladies contest that we may or may not be holding, allegedly. Thanks once again for tuning in to the Getting Salty Experience.
And that's Bob McPipes. He's got the pipe. Bob McGuns. He's working on the guns. Guns cologne.
Thunder and lightning.
Thunder and lightning. Yep. Excellent. All right, guys. Thanks for coming by. We'll see you Monday. Until then, stay low and go. Ray, send me your address. Text me your address.
10-4 send.
All right.
All right, everybody. We'll see you at the big one.
Take care. Be safe, guys.
All right, guys. Good night.